Well, it's Friday afternoon, quite a nice sunny day, been a bit overcast earlier, had a bit of rain. I got my delivery yesterday from Coles, which is great. I just love getting all that bulky stuff delivered to my door. And I did get my $9 credit off the bill for the evaporated milk they incorrectly delivered to me last time. When the guy actually came and delivered it, there was two of them actually. There's a woman. It was the first time I had a woman on the truck. So the two of them brought the bags to my door, and he commented on the my lemon tree. So he actually remembered my foliage, which is interesting. I guess he's been here about 3 or 4 times, so he's got a good memory. So I'm going off on the bike again today. I've been lured by cheap booze, cheap gin specifically. Relatively cheap. It's $42 at Liquorland. So I'm going to head off there and take advantage of it. There's a little bit of a breeze today, so it's not an ideal situation. Ideally, getting off in the early morning is better, but it has cooled down the last few days. It definitely doesn't feel nearly as oppressive to me anyway. So the temperature's a little better. Unfortunately, the grass is growing a little faster, so you can't have everything. I booked my tickets for, I booked my accommodation in Phuket for 1 month or 4 weeks and 1 night at the airport. And the big sticking point, of course, with these new arrangements is because you're a vaccinated person who has to have the test, one more test, the PCI test for COVID when you arrive, you need to be escorted to the hotel that you've chosen. It has to be an SHA plus hotel or one of the quarantine hotels. And my understanding is that the cost to go to the one that I've chosen, which is right next to the airport, it's only a couple of blocks, you could walk there, is going to cost me $15 by taxi, which is absurd. But then again, this might be the inflated prices you have to pay when you're transported under those circumstances. Yeah, so it's a real pain in the backside. I think it's going to cost me $100. I don't know how much it costs here. I'll have to look into that because I've got to have a test before I fly out. So there's just a lot to think about. And I still can't find one Australian insurance company that's offering policies which you must have when you go to Thailand under these circumstances. So I found one company that doesn't include COVID cover, which is totally useless. So I'm just going to have to keep hunting around. It looks as though they're just being incredibly tardy. You need to get your act together, Australian insurance industry. That's my advice. Anyway, so that's basically it. I'm going to head off and I'll continue on with this video in an exhausted state at the end of my ride. But at least it's forced me to do some exercise, which is good. So wish me luck. It's been well over a week since I've ridden the bike and it's well overdue. Yeah, well, just recovering from my ride up here. I'm going to go back. I got myself the gin. The special lasts until February. That's, wow. Last week was 2 weeks. Now it's about 3 months. So that'll keep me going until I head off OS. So that's perfect. I wouldn't stow them in the baggage. It's not worth it. The spirits are pretty cheap over in places like Thailand. That's the least of your worries. I might actually make up a few G&Ts. My only concern is getting the tonic water. I'm sure at places like Big C and one of the big supermarkets over there, it shouldn't be a problem. So, yeah, it's not like I'm going into an isolated place. It's one of the most visited places around Patong. So, anyway, yeah, saw a couple of bike rides. I felt totally emasculated. The bike rider behind me might as well have just pulled out the knife and went boom to my family jewels. A woman passed me on the bike track. So that's the first time that's happened. So that emasculated me. So I think I can live with it. I'm a 66-year-old codger, so these things happen at this time of your life. Reality check. Well, I'm absolutely knackered, but I did a time check. I left at for 2:45, I think, 2:46. I got here at 3:05, so makes it an 18-19 minute ride. which amazes me considering I had a really, really bad headwind on the way back. I guess I had the tailwind on the way going down there, so. But yeah, it's hard work in this sort of weather when it's breezy. It's great for the house. It's cooled down the house, so it's an ill wind, as they say, in more ways than one. So, yeah, I got my Spanish sausages on special, so that's good. Just put this thing on. Sorry about the camera work. Okay, it's holding. And I'll just open the main door. Oh, see, it's been well in excess of a week since I've actually ridden the bike, so yeah, I'm pretty puffed. But I guess it would have been worse when I first started riding again, so got to be philosophical, don't you? Anyway, I'll take the bike inside and have myself a nice cold drink. Hi everyone, just speaking to you from the backyard of my little tropical oasis here in far north Queensland. Yes, I indulged in the gin that I bought yesterday after all that exercise, good exercise, and I drank quite a bit, more than I would normally drink. I think about a quarter of a bottle each time. I think I went out for about a third, so I sort of overindulged and feeling a bit stodgy right now. Luckily I've got my handyman coming over at 2 o'clock, so that's another couple of hours off, so that's good. Beautiful day here today, I've got to say. Before I mention anything else, just want to give a shout out to Joe Rogan, who's a very big YouTube producer online, and he paid out big time on Jacinda Ardern, the PM of New Zealand. I think she's doing a mini version of a Biden on that country, and you know, I think her policies are going to cause a lot of damage. I think they've already caused a lot of international damage, because I think, like I said, I think there's been fractures with the Anzac tradition, the combination between Australia and New Zealand. I think it's strained the relationship a bit, which is not good. And of course she's not big on free speech, and she basically just will only speak to accredited press people these days. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I've had my run-in with the Thailand press in the guise of the Thaiger, which is a daily news channel that's actually run by, it seems like Tim Newton has a lot to do with running it. He used to work at 3AW in Melbourne, and he's the co-host with a guy called Jay, who's originally from India. But they're both domiciled in Thailand these days. Tim Newton lives in Phuket. I presume that Jay lives in Bangkok. What irks me a bit about these guys is they've sort of got a very puritanical look at the way the Thailand shop operate, and they're very much not supportive of the bar scene, because they don't go out. I don't think either of them drink. I know Tim Newton doesn't drink, and that's fine. I mean, even if you don't drink, you can still go to a bar actually and just enjoy the ambience. You don't have to drink alcohol. No one forces you to. But he's anything but a party animal, and I'm not a party animal. I don't stay out late at night, but there's a sort of a puritanical demeanour about the way they carry on about bars, and they put it down, and they obviously want to have a transition from, say, the patio bar scene, which is actually now quite dead. Thank God I'm going to Phuket, because Phuket seems to actually have a lot more life happening, and it may be because it was a sandbox location, so it's been opened up since July this year, and so there's a lot of sense there. By the way, just as an aside, I decided not to book that place, the Airbnb place, which is on a hill, and it looked absolutely stunning inside, all this wood work and what have you. One of the nicest looking places I've seen, but I had to make a practical decision, and I chose to stay at a resort spa. I've actually booked this place for 4 weeks, and because it's much more accessible to the beach areas and the main road, the Nay Road, which is where a lot of the nightlife takes place there, as well as down by the beaches. So, if you had transport, if I had my own transport, yes, I would have booked the other place. Patang is not my favourite part of the world, but at least it's got a lot of nightlife, and the beach is nothing special. But there is an improvement with Phuket, and that is that now they actually have a smart bus system. So you can go up and down between the beaches using the smart bus system at a reasonable price. I think the highest fare is about 170 baht, which is around, I would say, about $7, $6.50, $7. It's not too bad Australian, so that's quite reasonable. And that's the highest fare, and they have a 3-day pass, which is 450 baht. So you're looking there a little over, what would it be? About $15 probably, something like that, $15 to $18. A 3-day unlimited pass, so you can go right up to the airport and go right down to the beach on the west coast as far as you want. So it's a pretty good deal actually, and it's a new innovation. It's only been in for a few years and wasn't available when I went there last year. You had to basically use taxis, and they were a gigantic rip-off. Taxis or tuk-tuks, it's just so expensive to travel between beaches in the past, but now you can actually do that. And you can take a local bus to Phuket town if you want as well. That's a different service though. So there are ways of getting around without breaking the wallet. But speaking of breaking the wallet, that's news I just discovered today. I realised I'm up for an extra $200, which I wasn't expecting. It's actually $300 in total. This is for the COVID testing. The COVID testing in Australia will cost me $195 at one pathology place, or $210 at another. So I've got a choice of two up here. Maybe cheaper in the southern states, possibly, I don't know. But that was an expense I wasn't expecting. I guess I've got to be philosophical about this and counterbalance it by saying that the place I actually booked, I'm only paying around $900 for 4 weeks, which is pretty damn cheap, and it's supposed to be a really nice place. The only downside is that the internet can be a bit slow, but I did contact the management and they said they hadn't upgraded the internet, but what they can do is allocate me to a room that's got the strongest signal. So I think that's a pretty decent compromise. It shows they're honest enough to admit they haven't upgraded it, and they do get great reviews, the people that run the place. So, and apparently the food's quite reasonably priced, and they've got a bar there, and it's just a nice looking place, and the rooms are elevated from the main road, so apparently it's quite quiet in the actual sleeping accommodation. The other option I could have gone with, which would have cost slightly more, was to have my own standalone villa, which would have been good, but it was down the other end of the road. I think this is a nicer part of the Phuket, but you know, I don't know. I mean, maybe I could book the other place for later, because I've still got time there, and I don't think I'm going to be travelling around Thailand, so I may just make another booking. Look, I've got two options. I can either extend the booking where I've booked and get that low rate, which is it's around $30 a night for the room. So that's not bad. It's quite a nice room, quite a nice place actually. So that's good. But yeah, look, I did put a lot of time into booking the place, and I would have loved to have stayed in the other one that I chose, with the Airbnb one. The other downside of Airbnb is, of course, you have to pay up front pretty well, and and the cancellation policy is pretty tough generally. So you've got to basically, you're out of pocket earlier, and whereas with Booking.com, I can still cancel this booking right up until
I think it's pretty well to the end of January. So that gives me a lot more flexibility. So I think it's actually Booking.com is superior in that respect. The other thing is that I'm classified as a Genius 2 member, which means I've stayed with them quite a few times before, and it gives me an automatic upgrade as well as I'll get a free breakfast. I'm staying one night at Phuket, the airport, the hotel there for the first night, because you've got to actually, I don't know how this works, but when you do the test, you've got to quarantine at the hotel, and I may have to get a taxi, a special taxi to the hotel, even though it's in walking distance. Although the hotel itself says they actually do pickups and drop-offs to the airport, I don't know if they can do it for your test. It's all very confusing, this whole thing. It really is. I prefer the daily expat show, which is sort of like an audio blog. I find that's actually better than the Thaiger, which is actually a proper sort of, streaming TV channel in effect. But I've got my issues with them because, like I said, they're almost like the Temperance League, in that they don't like the bar scene and the entertainment scene, and they think that there's many other things to do in Thailand, and why should you do that? And almost like you're a degenerate if you want to have a few drinks and what have you. Actually, Tim Newton made this comment that you can drink at home. Why would you go overseas to drink? It's exactly the same. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't go out to these places, so he's talking from a point of ignorance. Bars in places like Thailand and Vietnam are totally different to the ones you have back home. You've got a different group of people. You've got a lot more travellers. You've got expats. It's a totally different mix. It's much more gregarious. It's a much more enjoyable thing. It's a good social conduit, and that's why I like going there. And I also like flirting with the bar girls, I admit that. So I put a post in to their companion companion TV show that they have, which is called Thaiger Bites, which is for feedback, which is a good idea. So you can actually, if you put your YouTube comments in on their show, they might pick up your comment and read it out. They did that to one of my previous ones, which I showed on one of my videos. But this time, they just basically tried to treat my post as if I'm just some Aussie yob who wants to get pissed. I'm pretty sick of their attitude. I think it's not a balanced attitude to how tourists see Thailand. Some tourists don't drink, they don't care about the bars, they're not in, and that's fine. And they actually say, like going to temples and all that sort of stuff. I've done a bit of that. I'm templed out, I'd say. I certainly do love some of the beautiful scenery and what have you. And there are other things to do when you travel. And one of the things is trying to pick up the language. That's quite a challenge. And that's something I do when I travel. But I also like doing blogs. And I will use the bus to check out more of the island, which will be great. And it won't cost me that much. And I might do some island tours and what have you, but just the attitude of both of those people, the Tim Newton and Jay, it just really annoyed the crap out of me. And maybe I'm overreacting. I'm really happy that I've got a guy coming around to look at the guttering, because I did contact Adam, who actually did repair my roof, but he doesn't want to touch the roof. He just wants to stick to painting. Luckily for me, I contacted the Japanese handyman who Darcy put me onto, and he said he could make it the next day, which is amazing. He's great. I think he does these jobs on weekends, these private jobs, because he does body corporate work, I think, during the week for properties. So I think, and so does Adam for that matter. I think that's their bread and butter, but they also do weekend work to just augment their income. So that works out rather well. From what I can tell, Bangalore Road is actually quite lively already. There's actually an Aussie bar called the Kangaroo Bar in Bangalore Road, which appears to be pretty well full steam ahead right now. Now, they're not supposed to be open, it's only supposed to be restaurants, but obviously they're serving food to cover their arses, and they're getting away with it. There were a few places still closed, but it's certainly starting to look more normal, and apparently it does depend on the individual province. So that patio, for some reason, the local government there is going down really hard on the bar owners, which was actually bar owner central. So they've really been hit hard, and there's one blogger showed that they were demolishing a whole lot of bars. Not that they're, they could easily be erected again quite quickly. They're not exactly solid structures, these things, but some people have just given up because it's just, whereas Phuket is actually, it's got nightlife again, which is fantastic, because that's what I want. I want a combination of things. I mean, I've got a great environment here as far as weather's concerned. I'm near a beach, I've got that now, this is where I live. But I go to a place like Thailand because it is a different culture, because it's a different language, the bar scene is different. It's much more welcoming, in my opinion. Yeah, look, it's good to travel. I'm a bit over the moving house buzz. I've noticed that I've actually got slackened off on actually getting work done. Having this tradie around, it's the first time I've had anybody around for weeks, whereas Leon, who you saw with the taste testing in the previous video, the stout, she seems to have tradies in every day virtually. She seems to there's always stuff she's getting done to her place. I mean, there's plenty to be done here. I've lost that initial enthusiasm. I did actually sell some shares at a decent profit yesterday. I've got quite a few losses this year already too, so they're outweighing the profits, but at least I've got cash flow. So I paid off more of my mortgage, and it's only now about $16,000 left on my mortgage. So the actual interest I'm paying on the mortgage is bugger all now, so that's good. It means I've got quite a large redraw amount available, so if the stock market dies in the arse, I could buy some bargains. Yes, as I say, I sold some shares that I've been hanging on to since early this year, and I made over 3,000 profit on that, about 3.5. So it's quite a tidy profit. It's not bad. Pretty happy with that. I really could have made a lot more money because the market's been quite volatile, and the shares that I know fairly well have been moving up and down quite a bit like a yo-yo. So there is plenty of potential to make profits like that, and I'm looking more at doing that now rather than just passively letting my shares just sit there. So because I've knocked off so much of my mortgage, I think I'm now in a position to use money to do a little bit of short to medium term trading. I don't like day trading, but I'm quite happy to trade shares over a period of weeks or months or whatever. So anyway, that's probably enough of my raving. I think I've covered all the topics. Yeah, the news was very good in Virginia. That's in. That's definitely been won. New Jersey, this guy who was a truck driver who challenged the incumbent, he almost got over the line, but considering he's only spending $150 compared to the squillions that the professionals in the Democrat machine pour in, he did bloody well just to scare the guy. So that was good news. So yeah, pretty happy with that overall. So look, hope you enjoyed the video. Please give me thumbs up, thumbs down. Comments as usual. Love the comments with my channel, and people are really good with that stuff. And please consider subscribing. It isn't really that painful. It doesn't cost you anything.